Hello, I am Andrew Garcia, and I am a graduate student at Texas State University. This presentation was assigned to cover a leadership book critique and was completed for the spring 2022 academic semester and posted to YouTube for posterity. I hope you enjoy it. My leadership book critique will be on Tao Te Ching, The Book of the Way by Lao Tzu, translated by Dwight Goddard in 1919. The book was republished by Sam Torode Books in Coppell, Texas in 2021. I have included a list of references used to compile this composition should you like to investigate the topic further. Also, on a side note, in my research on this topic, I discovered that the author's name, Lao Tzu, translates to Old Master. This is the cover of the book. I chose Tao Te Ching, or The Book of the Way by Lao Tzu, because it was a non-business leadership book listed among the popular leadership and professional development literature. The book is not exceptionally long, and as I tend to favor minimalism, I found the book's short prose style of presenting knowledge appealing. Reading the back cover, I discovered that Tao Te Ching was introduced in China more than 2 millennia ago. It was studied by humble people as a positive and spiritual way of looking and living life. Tao Te Ching is meditation and reflection about the universe and the sources of all creation. I found this intriguing and began flipping through the pages and quickly realized that the language of the Tao Te Ching was designed for anyone and everyone. The language is direct, simple, and honest. It appeals to those who seek wisdom without nonsense. Now, whether it is sustainable for graduate level study is yet to be determined, but I am finding that the basic ideas presented in the Book of the Way could prove to be vital at improving my personal as well as my professional behavior and perspective. My hope is that by reading the Tao Te Ching or the Book of the Way, it will provide me valuable insight in the simplest terms possible as to what it means to improve oneself and set a positive example for others to follow. I am hoping this reference allows me to become a better leader by learning how to better manage energy, first in myself and then in others. Tao Te Ching is based on the philosophy of Taoism. The Tao Te Ching is composed of 81 short books that explain the way of Taoism and was developed for the survival of the poor and uneducated in uncertain times. Although the Tao Te Ching and Taoism are credited to Lao Tzu, his ideas were based on the teachings of older Chinese philosophers that date back to the 4th century BC. The ancient book emphasizes that we must leave egoism behind and embrace simplicity. Overambition, greed, arrogance, and violence are believed to lead to eternal failure. Keeping life simple is the key to contentment. The Book of the Way also served as a guide to rulers and was a precursor to modern philosophy. The Tao repeats natural themes and considers water to be sacred. Water as a contradiction fits nicely with Taoism in that water is peaceful but can also be very forceful. This idea of peace and force is central to the Book of the Way. Tao is also all-encompassing and existed before time. It is the universe, life, creation, and is much larger than man or the stars. The Book of the Way enlightens the reader on how to become in tune with the Tao, and this in turn facilitates the selection of the proper choices in life. In simple terms, the book is about knowing truth and acting accordingly. Once mastered, the Tao leads to insight and power. So, for this reason, it is sometimes called the Way of Power. The Tao also promotes a humble existence and a life of service, as it is believed that serving others is the only true way to know truth as compared to those who seek only fortune and fame. With respect to leadership, the Tao proclaims that to be an effective leader, we must be in control of ourselves. That means that when a leader acts, it must be done for the benefit of others and not for personal gain. The Tao hold compassion, frugality, and humbleness as central to the school of thought, and a true leader will always seek and develop the hidden talents of his followers. Tao also believed that true leaders do not force things, but allow them to unfold as they should. A leader's action should always serve the follower and is sometimes known as a servant leader. In our text on leadership, I learned that the trait approach to leadership relies on the innate and fixed traits a leader exhibits. The skills approach emphasizes abilities that can be developed, and the behavioral approach is concerned with what a leader does and how they do it. In our text, Northouse states that an effective leader should be strong but not overbearing, challenging but reasonable, and firm but fair. The Tao Te Ching is built on three similar treasures of compassion, frugality, and humbleness. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu describes this idea best with a passage called Compassion. If you are compassionate, you can truly be courageous. If you are frugal, you can truly be generous. And if you are humble, you can truly be helpful. Although this passage was written for ancient people, modern-day rulers or leaders of an organization can easily apply it. The situational approach to leadership focuses on how different situations require different methods of leadership, and that leaders should be able to adapt themselves to the needs of the follower. In this respect, the Book of the Way emphasizes open-mindedness and encourages flexibility. A living being is tender and flexible. A corpse is hard and stiff. It is the same with everything. Those who are hard and inflexible belong to death's domain, but the gentle and flexible belong to life. The Tao's expression of flexibility is quite dramatic, associating rigidity with death, but it is fitting due to the importance of being able to adjust to change or face failure. In transformational leadership, more attention is given to values, ethics, standards, and long-term goals. It emphasizes charisma and the process that changes people for the better. The Book of the Way briefly describes this idea of promoting better leadership. Good rulers win the affection and praise of their subjects, but when great leaders lead, the people are hardly aware of their existence. Under such government, the people think they are ruling themselves. This Tao perspective fits nicely into the idea that transformational leadership believes in the decency of treating all human beings equally. Servant leadership deals with those in charge serving the ones following them. It stresses that leaders address the needs of the followers, empower them, and develop their innate talents. Servant leaders bow to the will of the followers over any self-interest. This approach most closely follows the way of the Tao. Rivers and seas rule the land by staying below it. Wise rulers, desiring to lead the people, humble themselves and stay below them. Wishing to help the people, they stay out of sight. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu is attempting to facilitate the survival of his Chinese countrymen. Life is tough in an imperial nation in the 5th century, and people are losing their minds and frantic about what to do. It quickly becomes obvious by repeated themes in the Book of the Way that the author values compassion, frugality, humbleness, and serving others. The support of these repeated themes focuses on ideas that are biased towards helping the less fortunate survive in a hostile world. The language used in the Book of the Way is direct, simple, and honest. It appeals to those who seek wisdom without nonsense and undoubtedly served as a useful guide to those trying to eke out an existence during the 5th century in feudal China. I would recommend the Tao Te Ching to anyone wanting to improve their personal or professional endeavors. My expectations for reading the Tao Te Ching include getting a minimalist perception on what it means to be a decent human being and how it affects being an effective leader. Completion of the book exceeded my expectations. I gained insight into the way ancient people surviving in challenging times face many of the same problems we are experiencing today. The Book of the Way mentions corruption, dishonesty, greed, and pride, so I am a little embarrassed to admit that I never connected these teachings to spirituality prior to selecting it. How surprised I was to discover that the Tao Te Ching is fundamental to Taoism. Lao Tzu's objective in drafting the Book of the Way was to create a guide for his people to survive in a feudal system that cared little about their well-being. So I believe the Tao Te Ching attempts to provide hope to despair, order to chaos, and balance to injustice. The fact that I am reading his work 2,500 years later and gaining wisdom from it speaks to the success of his objective. Thank you.